On this episode of Hudson Valley Hustle, I'm joined by Judy Annunziata, aka the Fruit Queen of the Hudson Valley. She owns an edible arrangements franchise right here in the Hudson Valley. She's got a long line of entrepreneurship in her family. She's got a great story, lots of good tips and advice. Hope you enjoy. So, are you still the Fruit Queen of the Hudson Valley?
I am the Fruit Queen of the Hudson Valley.
Where did that come up, by the way? Because I've known you for so long, and I don't think I've ever asked you, like, where did the name Fruit Queen come up? I mean, obviously edible arrangements, but like, how?
So I was trying to build the brand in Orange County, and I was working with somebody that was like, "Well, how did you do it at, at Umberto's?" I'm like, "I used to be called the Pizza Princess." And there was a little girl that used to come in like every weekend and would be like, "You're the Pizza Princess." And he was like, "Well, now you're the Fruit Queen." And I was like, that's funny.
Social media handle, website.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden they were like, we would say it every time I went to the chamber events, and then it clicked and everybody loved it. So I ran with it, and I was like, okay. So I was trying to make edible arrangements more of a mom and pop kind of business like I was used to. Because, it's kind of hard doing a franchise, trying to build a brand on your own in a county that never heard of it. So I ran with it, and it worked.
So were you the first edible arrangements in Orange County?
Yes, I took all three. I had Newburgh, Middletown, Monroe.
So did you get them all at the same time, or how did that work? Like, was one after the other?
So I got the first one, and then 2 months into it, it was Thanksgiving. I get a call during Thanksgiving saying somebody's interested in the Middletown zone. You have a week to make a decision, otherwise we give it to them.
So they give you right of first refusal, basically?
Yes, and that was the model then. So I'm like, I can't let anybody take my territory. I'm working so hard. So I took it. And then as I took that one, in December, I got the call for Monroe. And in 1 year, I opened up 3 stores. Growing at the same time as the business was. So,
that's wild.
The business wasn't up and running. I mean, it was up and running, but it wasn't popular yet. It was just becoming.
So were they doing marketing here originally, or was that all you?
No, that was all me.
Gotcha.
We didn't have that, national marketing at that point.
Right. So you had to bring all the awareness to edible arrangements on your own for 3 stores?
Yep. For 3 stores. And I had to figure out what would be the best way, because everybody knew me from my dad's restaurant. What would be the best way that I could do this? So I went to everything. Every chamber event, every ribbon cutting, you name it. And I would be like, I'm the Fruit Queen. And then I would, like, if you need anything for your gift giving, because people never really thought about gift giving that way, other than, other franchises like Harry and David, things like that. So I was new. We were a brand new concept, and I needed to prove to you it was the way to get your gift giving idea out.
That's awesome. And you did it.
I did. Yeah. I think I did a good job.
So fast forward a little bit more like to today now, right? So this will be out sometime in like middle of November probably. Okay. So where are you at right now after all of that? Because I know there's some big changes that you've been able to help Edible make and...
Yeah. So when we first opened, the concept was we were a web-based business, but then we started doing a lot more walk-ins, and I hate to use this as an excuse, but COVID happened, and I got to understand. I never closed, not a single time. So I got to understand what customers needed, and they weren't coming in. So I didn't want to not be open. So I opened up just Newburgh, and I took care of the entire Hudson Valley out of one location.
Oh, gotcha.
So with that said, as time was going, I realized nobody's coming in, and I was like, I'm going to make a hub. So that's what's going to be happening in November. I've merged all the locations into Newburgh, and that's the edible arrangements of the Hudson Valley. It will be taking care of the entire Hudson Valley through that location.
That's wild. So
yeah.
Are you already seeing customers from the stores come to that hub? Like, how are you making it so the customers know that, hey, this is the place now, not Monroe or Middletown? Like, how does that work?
So we're in the beginning steps.
Gotcha.
It literally just happened. I mean, I know this is going to go out in November, but it just happened. So we are having a big event that's going to explain to everybody. We're still here. A lot of people don't have the time to come in. They never really did, but more so now that there's third-party delivery services, which are huge now, Uber Eats and DoorDash, et cetera. So I have that I can do as well. I can do that, or I can have my own delivery service. So It's just letting you know that you have the availability of still doing deliveries, but if you wanted to come in, you could come in. They're still available to you, but it's very rare people come in now. I mean, it's a difference, and you have to go with what your customers are doing, right? So your customers don't have the time, or they realize that they don't need to. I mean, the average person I speak to, you would pay $15 to not have to drive out of your way to get something, a gift, because it's convenient, right? So the convenience factor is so much bigger than it used to be. I think that people just prefer their time more now, ever since COVID. I know people think it's a little crazy when I say that, but like they really do appreciate their time more. So they're like, oh, I can get a delivery service? That's what I'm going to do.
Well, I think you get used to the convenience of things kind of coming to you, and then you're just like, well, I don't really want to change that because I don't want to go anywhere anymore. I just want to, why not just keep it going?
I mean, we can still service you. So, I mean, it's the same way that it's always been. It's just, Yeah. And if you still want to come in, you have that option.
Yeah. So my thought was like, Edible Arrangements is big. It's a pretty big brand, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like when people think small business, they don't think franchise.
No.
Right?
They do not.
So
a lot of people get that the miscommunication about that. What they say, or conception, I meant to say, they end up saying like, oh, well, you're a franchise, so they pay for everything, right?
Right,
and exactly. I'm like, no, that's not how that works. You pay for a name, and then you build the brand. I mean, just because you have an Edible Arrangements or any other franchise, you literally have to get in it and build it. It's not just because it has such a brand name. You need to actually build your own. So I knew I had to do it like a mom and pop, and I did. And I think everybody puts me together with Edible Arrangements in Orange County, in Hudson Valley, but I think I did enough work to do that.
Yeah, I don't think of Edible Arrangements without thinking of you. I mean, but I've known you for a really long time too. But I'm sure your customers have known you for a really long time, and you get a lot of that repeat business, and they know you. They associate you with the brand, which that's why you've been able to be successful in this area. Yeah,
I think a lot of franchisees don't do hands-on. I like that. And I did do it like at the mom and pop shop. I would be the customer service girl, and no one knew I was the owner. I'm the delivery driver. Nobody knows I'm the owner. I like to get my hands into it. It's how you become close to your customers. So I kind of take the franchise part out when I'm working, and it's mine, And then people just don't understand this concept just because it's not, Fruit Flowers by Judy. They think that it's not considered a small business. And I am a small business owner. I hire locally. I use all local vendors, plumbers, etc. I do everything that every other small business owner does. I live in the town, So I think people just have that misconception. Franchisee is not a small business, but it is 100%, if not more, because you have to prove yourself even more so aside from the franchise name.
I love that. No, that's just a good take, because I think that all the time. Even you look at McDonald's, it's still owned by, I have a buddy of mine that owns a McDonald's down on Long Island. And
they don't have to do as much work, but they have a great name.
But that guy's in there. Yeah. The guy's in there all the time.
100%.
He doesn't just collect the check from selling
and that's
burgers.
What everybody.
It's not how it works.
Edible Arrangements is not writing a check out to me going, to Judy, thanks for having a spot.
Right, exactly.
No, it's not like that. You do have to do all the legwork.
So that's something that somebody that's thinking about franchise, it's not that. It's not just copy paste and then you just collect the checks.
Yeah, no. I thought it was like that when I started too.
Did you really?
I was like, so now what?
They're like, go
take over. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I thought somebody was going to hold my hand the whole time.
Gotcha.
And that doesn't happen either.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask you. So what kind of help does having a franchise like that give you then?
So they do help you. There's an operations team obviously there, but you have to understand, I also opened roughly when they were getting big. So we were learning at the same time. I was learning at the same time, and I hired my GM. She started day one with me, and we both were learning at the same time that, I think Edible Arrangements was growing. As we were growing, they were growing. So I think it was a lot of bouncing back and forth how to do things. And then it was kind of like, well, how did you do it all the other years you were doing business, like with your family and stuff? What did you do? I went to chamber events. Okay, do that. I'm like, oh, okay. I had a nickname. Okay, do that. Oh, okay. And then it was like, do you know how to do social media? And I mean, I'm in this for 18 years now. So I'm like, social media? what's that? Like, it was Facebook. So I'm like, yeah. And I would like copy and paste. In the beginning, it was definitely
a little
rough. I didn't know what I was doing, like printing it out, like little things, and then putting my name on the bottom of it and handing them out to people. Old school stuff, but then.
Yeah, but I feel like that puts such a personal touch to a big name, right?
Yeah.
Like that goes back to what you were saying, is you were treating it like a mom and pop.
And they were just like, oh, go out to businesses and just walk in and tell them who you are. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's different. I didn't do that with Humberto's because everybody knew who I was. So I was like, my dad was there for 45 years. So I was like, okay. So I walked in and I'd be like, hi, I just opened a place on Broadway. And they're like, okay, what is it? It's Edible Arrangements. The name took a while for a lot of people. And I was like, it's fruit bouquets. And then people would be like, okay. So then everybody thought they came in made, and then I just sold it. And I was like, oh, no, we make it from scratch. The whole fruit comes in, and we set it up. And that took a long time for people to understand as well. Mm-hmm. But, I made it happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So how do you think were you working in the restaurant forever before that? So like basically grew up there?
Yeah, I literally grew up. I slept on the flower beds in the back. Everybody knows it. It's like that joke in my family. I was always there. I was a staple at the place other than my brother. My sisters, they were around, but it was always me and my brother. Mm-hmm. And I watched how my dad and mom, worked with customers all the time. They were a priority. And I don't think a lot of franchises, unless you grew up like I did in that kind of business, in the restaurant business, I don't think they realize how much people do for their customers. So in the restaurant world, like you do everything to make them happy because you want that dining experience. So I kind of took that, and I would tell my girls, like, you do not argue with your customers on the phone. You let them say what they need to say. We're here to help them. So I took the mentality that my parents gave me about customers, and I threw it into the franchise world. I mean, kind of, it was the best thing and the worst thing, because I overworked like it was a restaurant and like it was mine, like that.
That's all you knew, right? That's
all I do. That's all I do, and that's all I knew. And I would be at the restaurant all day. I mean, from 10 a.m. to like 1 a.m. And I loved it. I loved being there. So I started doing the same kind of thing at Edible. And I think that's how everybody was like, oh, she's always there. Mm-hmm. She's always working. At first, I was like, oh, that's bad, right? Like, I should be behind the scenes. But I don't like being behind the scenes. I like to actually be in it.
Yeah, I find that true, too. I think people like to do business with people, right? They don't like to do business with, like, a faceless kind of organization. And even though, Edible's a pretty big brand, the fact that you could still put a face to it probably made it a little more successful.
I would say the most successful Edible Arrangements owners did it that way.
Okay.
And I would know like a good 25 owners that were in the restaurant field and handled it the same exact way I did. And they became successful. Mm-hmm. Whether they decided to retire with it or they're continuing to do it, they were just very successful in handling it, not like a franchise, but more of a personal business. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where people just misunderstand. There's that misconception of franchise versus small business. Mm-hmm. But I think they're understanding it now.
Yeah, we teach that to clients all the time. Even they're like, well, I want to put my logo there. It's like, well, your logo doesn't really mean anything unless there's a really good person behind that. And we find that the ones that are the most successful are the ones that kind of inject themselves into it, and they become the mascot, like, so to speak, for their business. And it crushes because people follow people. They like people. People like people. They don't like a logo. They don't follow a logo. They don't follow a Bitmoji. They don't follow, Right. Unless you're like, listen, if you're like Nike or something like that has definitely, certain things that come with it, but like Nike, we're not Nike, right? That's what I mean. You're a franchise in a local town. There should be a face to it, exactly. Especially if you live there. Exactly, I agree with you. And I always told my staff, like, tell them your name. They're like, oh, tell them my name? I'm like, yeah, let them know who you are. Let them brag about how great they were with you. Like, that's great. I love that. When people are like, oh, I talked to Megan or I talked to Melinda. And I'm like, that's great.
that makes me feel good as an owner. So I taught them well, and that's also that there's a lot to say about when you build a staff too.
Yeah.
You get excited that you love your staff, that you love what you're doing. I'm not going to lie, there's the good and the bad, and I think a lot of people tend to forget to mention the bad, but I like to mention the bad because, one, I can learn from it, but at the same time, I open up other people's, eyes to it's not always great.
Yeah, you got to keep it real. I think that's part of the reason why I started this, and I kind of I tell people this all the time. I call it Hudson Valley Hustle, kind of tongue in cheek, because the hustle culture is like this glamorous, it's Lamborghinis and selfies
waking up
and mansions,
at 4 a.m, working
and
out and then grinding.
Right. No.
Yeah.
No.
You're waking
that's
up
not,
and you're
that's
like,
not what it is. I want to know, what is the real hustle like? And this is from somebody that's been doing their own thing for 19 years, and then before that, being in a restaurant, seeing the real grind for however many years before that.
Oh wow. I mean, the grinds are similar and different. Like, the difference is that at the restaurant, you can only fill up as many tables as you can fill up, right? And you can take as many orders as you can take. But when it comes to edible arrangements, there's a printer that spits out orders, and there's no way for me to say, okay, we're going to do 100, or we're going to do 1,000. And you're just sitting there on a holiday, and it's like, and you're like this, okay, I got to manage these people to stay on top of this, and we can't shut off. Because once you shut off, you made your customers unhappy, and I don't want to make them unhappy. So I want to get all the orders in, and the staff's looking at me like, are we going to shut down? And I'm like, nope, we got to make sure everybody gets their Christmas arrangements. We're the elves.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if that means that we're working 24 hours, which has happened, I'm not going to lie, because you just got to get it done. And you'd make it happen.
Yeah. No, that's good. You have to get it done. But that's the real grind, right? That's
the real grind. And
it's like, you get to do what you want. You get to make your own schedule. You got all this freedom. It's fruit.
How bad can it be?
Making fruit look like flowers. It can't be that bad.
Exactly. That's got to be so easy. I do stuff like that all the time at my house. That's what people say to me. I'm like this. And how long does it take you to make one?
That's right. Yeah.
I've got to make 100. It's cute when people like to mimic it. I'm like, that's cute.
Yeah.
You try pushing out, 1,000 on one day for a holiday. It's not as easy as people think.
Yeah.
And so when they make those, it's not that bad. All you got to do is a cookie cutter, right? So it's a lot of work. I think it's a lot more work than people think. And the hustle is real. And there's, days that you're like in your office kicking things, breaking things, at least for me. And then you're like, okay, get it together, because all these people are watching you and waiting to get direction. So I have to walk back out there and be like, all right, we got this, got to turn it around. But sometimes it's awesome, and sometimes you're having a meltdown. And I don't think people know that as a small business owner, that you're going to have a lot of those. And I'm happy to admit I've had a lot of those. You have to have the good with the bad.
But are you happy to do that? At the end of the day, right?
I complain, and I'm saying that there's good with the bad, but it kind of fuels my fire. I enjoy that hustle. If I was slow, I would go crazy. I don't know how to stand still. So if I was, doing 50 orders on a holiday and content with it, because that's just what came in, first of all, I would never be content with it. I need to get pushed. Like, oh my God, the printer won't stop, Judy, or another location shut down. So we automatically take on that area. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, I needed to get that boost of energy, because then when it's done, that holiday's over, you're like, that was fun. And we all say it, like, it was kind of fun. And you scream at each other and you bark at each other, but that's also fun. Let's be honest. That little boost of energy gets your day going, makes the day go faster.
I was going to say, it probably makes it go by quick too.
It makes it go by faster. And then at the end of the day, you feel like, wow, that was great.
After pumping out 1,000.
Yeah, you're like, that was great. Like, there's tears sometimes, like, oh my God, we finished it, and then it's like, and sometimes it's high fives, and sometimes it's like, I just need to go home, I'm shot.
Yeah.
But there is that, happiness at the end of the rainbow.
That's good. Yeah, and but I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to, and I'm sure you too, they deal with the good and they deal with the bad, but at the end of the day, they wouldn't trade it for anything.
No. I mean, I think people are always like, as an owner, as a franchise owner, what's your exit plan? I'm like, exit plan? you need one of those?
Yeah.
Because I can't see me ever slowing down. So I was like, oh, no, I don't have one of those. Mm-hmm. Not yet. Not for another 10 years. I got another 10 years in me.
Do you?
Or so. Probably more. I have my dad's blood.
I was gonna say,
I have my dad's blood.
I don't know, like, if you guys don't stop.
My whole family doesn't know how to stop. No.
Yeah.
I probably have more than 10 years in me.
Yeah, that's great. How important do you think having that kind of entrepreneurial blood in your family has helped you? Because I know some that don't have it, and then some that do, and I feel like the ones that have it in their family, they work a little bit.
Too much. We're a little psycho.
Yeah, a little crazy.
We're a little crazy.
But good crazy.
Yeah, I think that it was a friend of mine that was like, do you know how to have fun? And I was like, I have fun. She was like, no, like you literally work all the time.
I like cutting fruit into fun shapes.
Not even that. Like I do my own social media. So I'm like on my phone all the time. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not texting anybody. I'm actually like doing my ad for tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's National Apple Day, you know, like, and I'm like doing it. And they're like, you're always on. I'm like, yeah. Or I'll think of something and I'm like writing it. And they're like, you know, there's more to life than in working, right? I'm like, there is.
What are you talking about?
There's more to like, you know, I think our brains are wired differently too. Like, you know, I know you have it in your blood too. So it's like you wake up and you're like, okay, what am I going to get done?
What am I going to do today?
Yeah, like there's not a day where you're sitting there going, I'm just going to stay in and be lazy today.
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Even when you're home.
I sometimes get like that. But
yeah, but even when you're home, right? Like
when I'm home,
you're doing more projects.
I have to do things.
You're not laying in bed. I have to be sick to lay in bed and do nothing.
Gotcha. Yep,
you know?
Exactly.
I have to be like on my deathbed.
Yeah. I will tell you, I've gotten to be able to enjoy a little bit more, and it is awesome.
Oh, is it?
It's kind of good, you know, to be able to like, you know, I golf, so like that's my thing. Like that's the thing I do. If I'm not working or with the family, that's the thing I'm doing, right?
I like to be outside. Yeah.
So that for me, being outside, getting active and doing that has been like life-changing, because before I started getting back into it very heavily, I was not in a great place.
Yeah.
So, but getting back outside, getting that
Oh, you were one of those
again.
people that were stuck inside?
Well, no. I was one of those people that just like was stuck inside their head. Oh. So like I couldn't, and just like the routine and the family, kids, work, like it was just crushing me. I had to get out and do something. So that for me, you know, I feel like if you need that kind of outlet, go find it, because it's super important, especially if you work for yourself, because you can work yourself crazy.
Well, I think I have to say, I actually have taken it a little bit more back to family for my parents. You know, they're getting older and I want to spend more time with them, you know, but I think that I'm always still mentally on. Like
sure.
I'm always checking my phone, or
Same.
I don't think I can really detach, and I don't know too many owners that actually do.
Yeah, I don't think you
it's a
can.
bad thing.
No.
You know, like I think it's great. I think that even when things are going smooth, if you don't have your eye on it, that's when you're like, oh God, you feel this overwhelming guilt too as an owner. Like you're like, I'm having a good time. Should I be checking my phone to see if anything's going on? Let me see how many orders I have. Like I'm always looking. Yeah. I do have this guilt sometimes of enjoying life because I'm like, oh, I gotta work.
Yeah.
I gotta work.
I will say I do feel that sometimes too. It's like if I'm not.
You find yourself making an excuse to people too, like, I had to get to a party, and you're like explaining it, right? And they're like, okay.
Or it's like, I had somebody canceled this afternoon, so I was able to sneak out and play 9 holes. It's like, what the hell am I making an excuse for? I'm like, this is my thing.
You worked hard for it. That's the bad part, I'll say, that I am getting used to now. Yeah. It's like, my GM said it for years, like, you don't have to, like that. You shouldn't have to tell us what you're doing. I'm like announcing what I'm going to, like, I don't know why I do it.
I'm doing this because of this. It's
exactly.
Like, you don't have to make the excuse.
You could work.
You could just go do it.
Yeah, and enjoy yourself. It's okay. Yeah. You feel a little guilty about it.
That's funny. No, that's true though. Yeah. That definitely happens.
Yeah, I have to agree to that.
But I will say the one thing that made me take a little bit of like a step back and kind of put a little bit more of a boundary up was, I remember like answering a client email in the delivery room for my first kid. Like granted, like nothing crazy was happening at that moment.
No, I got you.
But I'm like,
this is bad.
What the hell am I doing right now? I'm like, I gotta stop. I need a few days. Like this is crazy. Yeah. So that's when I was like, okay, they cannot reach me everywhere.
Yeah.
I cannot be reached everywhere at any time.
I'm like,
Do you?
yeah.
I know a lot of people that do, and I totally understand that, and I respect it. But that, like, for me, that was a moment where I was like, I gotta put a time limit on this, or at some point.
I have a great team. I mean, my sisters are involved. My GM that's been with me 18 years. So she was in high school when I met her. Now she's married, has kids. So, like, I have a great team that's like, you can stay home. You're not feeling well.
Yeah.
I'm like, or you don't really need to come down here. It's silly. Why are you coming down here? Like, I'm like, do I have to come down? No, you don't. I sometimes don't think they want me to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll get over that one day. Maybe
Yeah.
in my 26th year, I'll calm down.
You'll chill out at some point.
Yeah,
Anyway.
at one point or another, I'll calm down.
So what is somebody that is thinking about starting a franchise? Because the franchise world is very foreign to me. Like, starting the business, I get that. Starting a small business from scratch, totally understand that. But franchise is kind of like foreign to me. What's something that somebody doesn't realize going into a franchise that you really need?
Although you don't have a boss, you have a boss. Like, don't do that. You can't do that. Why? Because that's our name and our brand, and we don't like it like that. And you're like, but I like it that way. And they're like, yeah, it's non-negotiable because it's their brand. And you forget that. And, I made it my brand. But they're good with me. I mean, the corporate offices and I have gone way back. And I was the, face for the commercial. And I think it's because I was so involved with my social media. Yeah, nobody.
Was that a national ad that went out? That's
nobody
right. I remember that.
Yeah, I was the national ad where I had to go, where I guarantee you freshness and your happiness. And I was in front of an arrangement, and there was probably 2 million takes, and I said the same thing over and over. And I just don't know what the difference was. But
Yeah.
I think it was because they were like, wow, this girl's running with the social media part of this, And it was great. I mean, I loved doing the commercial. My name was on it. I remember people were like videoing it and sending it to me.
That's cool.
But you get to do what you want as a franchisee to a point, but you do have to follow, some rules, obviously. We don't show people how to make our arrangements, but people like to copycat. But we have our signature stuff, and there's how to train your staff. It's their way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? But like when it comes down to the day-to-day, like the social media and the marketing and things like that,
they approve a lot of my stuff. I was
Okay.
grandfathered into a lot.
Okay.
I was so happy because there was a gentleman that was working there, is no longer at corporate, but he was just kind of like, I'm never going to tell you what to do because you ran with it and figured it out. And most franchisees didn't go on social media. At the time, I was one of the youngest franchisees, so I don't think that the other people even knew how to do social media. I was doing it for the restaurant, so
Oh, right. Yep.
I was, before, you took over. So, until somebody professional took over, I was trying to get us as many people as we could. But, I was learning as I was going.
Yeah.
Social media, I was
And
learning.
back then it was evolving too, right? It wasn't like,
but I think I
wasn't this
was
exact
at
science.
the perfect timing for me of when it was evolving. I
Sure.
was with my business, so I think I caught on better than a lot. So they gave me a lot of, go ahead, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But
See,
you
that's
got to
good.
ask. It was kind of like and if you get in trouble, we'll slap you on the hand kind of thing.
Sure.
And I learned. But, for the most part, they set you up and they give you a name and they're like, this is what we have and we're going to grow. And every time we grow, we're going to call you and tell you we're growing. And you're like, okay. And you just go with it in the
Gotcha.
beginning. Yeah.
Is Edible a recommended franchise for you? Not in this area, obviously.
I was going to say, not right here.
Yeah,
but,
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course it is. It's a gift-giving company. I mean, there's always a birthday. There's always, an anniversary. Unfortunately, there's always a sympathy. But I think it's a great business, or I wouldn't have stayed in it for 18 years.
Yeah, exactly.
The good and the bad, but I could have walked away, and I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've modified it too, and you've pivoted, and you've...
And I've changed with it. And I think in the beginning, I was a little nervous. Like, oh, God, if I close stores, then I'm going to look like a failure. And it was a hard nut to swallow because I was like upset to do it because it meant a lot. It was huge for me to open up other locations. I thought like that means that you're becoming successful if you expand your enterprise. And when I was closing them, it wasn't because I was like, oh, this is terrible. I was closing it because I was like, I need to get all of my best people under one roof with me there and manage this the best possible way because people want that convenience of delivery. So I made it into a hub. And it took me a long time to like come up with that and understand it. I thank COVID for it because it wouldn't have happened if COVID didn't scare everybody not to come into work. And we were mandatory to stay open because we were delivering whole fruit back then and vegetables. So people weren't going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And then people couldn't reach out to each other during the holiday. I apologize. During any holiday during COVID.
Yeah.
So we were that middleman, and I was the customer service the entire time.
Wow.
So I got to talk to a lot of customers, and they would be like, "You're the owner?" I'm like, "Yeah." It was great. I mean, it was great for me. I hate to say it sometimes. It makes me
but it kind of
feel
gave you
guilty.
gave you that light bulb, that
It
realization,
gave me the light
right?
bulb, 100%. I kept saying it to corporate, like, there's no need to have all these locations. You can get your best people under one roof, your best production people, your best customer service people.
Sure.
And I would do it for every holiday, even though like I had the other location still. I still made everything happen out of one store.
And that worked better.
And they just didn't understand, like, we're going back to normal. Why are you still stuck there? I'm like, I like it. It works better. It makes sense. I can watch everybody. I don't have to get nervous about another location. And I mean, 85-90% of my business is delivery. And now more so with third party. Like, it's very rare that people pick up. I mean, do you pick up a pizza? Or do you get it delivered?
No, I actually don't pick up.
You do pick up?
I'm a pick up person, yeah.
You like to see the face.
I like to control when I'm getting it. With pizza, right? With pizza, yes.
Would you pick up an edible arrangement?
No, absolutely not.
No,
Yeah,
so you want it
not.
delivered.
Yeah.
I think people like also to, like, when you're getting a pizza, that's for the family, you know you're getting it.
Yeah.
When you're getting a gift, people like that wow factor of opening the door and they're like, oh my God, this is for me.
I
And
was
you're
just
like,
surprised when
oh, I know.
I was like, oh, this is great because you didn't even bring it in. You had
No,
one of your team
I
members bring it
wanted
in.
her to bring it in because I wanted you to get that like full delivery effect.
I was like, oh, look at this. That's
See,
great.
and that's the same thing. Most people are like, me? Like they do that
Yeah,
every
yeah,
time.
yeah.
I love it.
That's
I
good.
love it. And then I also love to do deliveries myself. I love to see them excited. To see somebody getting a gift and they're like, but who's it from? Like it gets all like mysterious and exciting. It's the best part.
That's great.
Delivery is the best part.
I love it. So like from top to bottom, you're involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Down to sometimes delivering, which is great.
A lot of times delivering. You'll
Yeah.
see me deliver. People
That's
see it
awesome.
all the time. They're like, what's going on? I'm like, I just like it. I do. I enjoy seeing, I guess, it's not my customer, it's more my recipient, but I like to see them. And I like to see them excited because it makes me feel good. I've done all this hard work. I want to see a couple smiles at the end of the day.
Yeah, you want to see the final product,
I want to
right?
see the final
Because
product.
the final product is not when it's done; it's when it gets delivered to the person that's receiving it.
Wholeheartedly, yes.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's awesome. So, how can people shop with you, get deliveries from you? How do they get in touch with you? How do they reach out to the Fruit Queen herself? Like how to?
So I do know that everybody loves to go on the website and do the website ordering. That's the one thing with franchising that people don't understand. The best way to benefit a franchisee is to always contact their store directly because they do the sale instead of you going online and trying to figure it all out. Plus, that's a part of corporate, so it's different. I get the best benefit when somebody calls the store and places an order, or comes into the store and places an order, but versus doing it online. Let us help you. Plus, I can give you the best discounting and advice. We can tell you that's too small. You know, you're doing a party of 50, that's not going to cover it. Or that's way too big for a group of 10 people. You know, you're looking at it online and you're guessing and, you know, you're like, oh, that's cute, you know?
Yeah.
And we can tell you what you can add to it and things of that sort. So, yes, the best way is to call the store directly.
And Newburgh, right? Called Newburgh?
Yeah, the Newburgh location.
That's great.
Throw that number out for you.
Throw it out.
845-565-1144, of course.
And
I'm gonna tattoo it on me.
You're on
Yeah.
social?
Of course. It's Edible Arrangements of the Hudson Valley for all of my social media. Obviously, there's the Edible Arrangements page, but we do have our individual page and following. We do contests, things like that. Like, I like to do things off the cuff with my social media. You know, like I like to give people updates and things of what's going on, not just with edible, I like to do things in the area. Like I enjoy being a part of the community. So I'm going to share charities, things of that sort. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, it was really good to have you here
Thanks.
doing this.
I'm excited.
This was definitely fun. I love your whole family.
I appreciate that.
You guys are all awesome, and
I'm going to make you eat one of those on
right now.
right now.
All right.
I want to see the wow factor.
All right. That's fine. Let's do it.
Let's do this. Me, myself, I'm not going to eat it.
That's okay.
I eat it for breakfast every day.
Here's a question for you. All right. So, do you guys have nutrition facts on the website?
I believe they do.
All right. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'm a tracker.
Oh, well, are you?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, it's
Trying.
semi-sweet chocolate, so it's not milk. So it's healthy for you, and it's
Oh, no.
fruit. Mm-hmm. Are you going to share?
No.
No, you don't have to.
Frankie can have some.
Frankie, you can have some. You can have an apple or a banana. Actually, I want you to taste all of them and tell me which one you prefer. Apples are my favorite. I know, I get it. I understand. The apple over a strawberry any day, and people think I'm crazy. But
Keep talking because I got to eat.
Yeah, you keep eating. That's fine. Brought to you by Edible Arrangements of the Hudson Valley as these chocolates coming down.
No, this is really good.
No.
Chocolate-covered apple is solid.
Yeah, no, they are. I can't tell you that my first
Oh my
year
God.
I didn't gain maybe 15 to 20 pounds, but it's okay.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Now lick your finger because that actually is the next thing that everybody does.
It's getting weird. I like it. We're leaving it all in. This is awesome. You're awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate
Call
it.
the Newburgh
Yes, call
location for
Newburgh.
orders.
We will take care of you all throughout the Hudson Valley.
and ask for Judy.
And ask for
The fruit
Judy.
queen.
And if you need anything out of state, we also do that. We
Oh,
take
sweet.
care. Yeah, don't call your out of state people. Call your local people. Let us help you. We'll send it out for you, and
Perfect.
we'll make sure we get grandma taken care of in Florida.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank
See you
you.
soon.
Yep. You too. You too, Frankie.